Just imagine for a second that you were a tiger herder. So you'd be driving a huge herd of tigers across the plains. You'd be terrified. You'd be terrified that one day they were going to wake up and realise how ferocious they were, how deadly. They'd understand their power and their size. Now just think how much more dangerous humans are. And that's an analogy from a US comedian, Duncan Trussell, who I think is a great philosopher on life. And I've probably butchered his analogy, but I really like it. But we're the herd. We're the herd that don't really realise our potential. And we're conditioned that way. It's not a mistake. It's not something that we've stumbled into. That's how we're conditioned, unfortunately. And it starts at school age, when children are at school. And we want the best for our children. I know all parents want the best for their children. But I feel that currently we're failing in that. And I'd like to understand and know why we're failing in such a huge way. Because the current system is really outdated. It's obsolete. It's been created for a different time and not for our own time. We have so much information at our fingertips and for us to see and to experience that we're not allowing our children to reach their full potential in life, because we're not setting them up in that way to be able to explore who they are, their potential, what they can achieve. It only serves to prepare them for a life of servitude, really. So everything about it is created in that way. It's created in a way to put people into the system and prepare them for that life after. And the current school system was created during the Industrial Revolution. So it would take people who were poor, from a poor class, uneducated, and it would educate them and prepare them for a life in a workhouse or a life in a factory or a life down a mine. That was the idea behind it. And I guess that there was a decent payoff at the time, because it was somebody who wasn't educated, and you were giving them an education, you were giving them a job, you were giving them something that would better their life, because without that they were living in poverty. They were living in horrible, dingy little houses, tons of people living in the same house. And you were giving them a way to make a little bit of money and to put food on the table and all of those things. But that was a long time ago, and that was made for that time. So everything that was created and we still use today was set up for that life of waking up, going to work at 6 a.m, not coming back until 11 at night or whatever it was. It was just a horrendous. In the end, it became a horrendous day for people and a horrendous life. But it was everything from the layout. So you were told to sit at a table. So then in the factory, or sit at an individual desk. In the factory, you would have your individual seat and your individual section that you would be working on. And it's not dissimilar to today. So you sit at your individual desk, you go to work in an office, and you sit at your individual position, your individual role. The uniform, setting you up again for working in a uniform, making everybody seem like a drone. They're just part of the hive, and so it's all about setting up for this life after. Timetables, feeding time, telling individuals when they can eat, or how much rest time they can have. Stop resting now, because your rest time's over. I know you might be aching, or you might be tired, or whatever. I'm sorry, this is our time now. So back to work. Oh, like you need more than half an hour. Sorry, you've got half an hour to eat and drink, and that's it, and then you're back to work again. It's incredible, really. So and that starts, that kind of indoctrination starts at that early age, with the children thinking and kind of understanding that that's the way life is. That's what's going to happen. And so we've got to ask ourselves: is that what we want for our kids? Is that what we want for the future of our culture and our society? Is it really? It's not really what I want. I don't want to continually create drones for the hive to go and serve the the queen bee. Just because I think that there's more potential out there. There's more that can be achieved by taking the chains off people, taking the shackles off people, and it starts with the children. I mean, once adults are kind of already stuck in that system, there's nothing more that you can do for them, I guess. They're already in the system. They've got to break free for themselves. But for children, as we're raising them up to the age of, I guess 16, the age when they finish. But again, like that's questionable. Kind of the age limits is questionable for me. Like why would, kind of, I don't know, everybody matures at a different age, everybody learns at a different speed, so why would you put tethers on that? Why would you say, okay, so up to 16, that's your education, then after that it's higher education, work, whatever else? But like there might be kids who become really mature at 13, 14 in an education sense, being able to learn a lot quicker. So that's something that I would definitely kind of look at. But I just don't think that the way that our school system is set up is fit for purpose in the modern world. It's essentially preparing people for a production line, and whether that's a production line, as I say, again, in a factory or a production line in an office, it's that brain-numbing kind of going repetition, just doing it again and again and again, and getting up in the morning, going to work, having your dinner, kind of going. That's it, going back to work, then coming home, repeat. It's soul destroying, really, for the spirit. It's soul destroying. And so, thinking about it in the sense of the workhouse and the factory, the system, the school and education system that was created back then, that we still use today, was then set up to give people roles, specific roles, in those workhouses, in those factories. Those roles now are taken by robotics. So in that sense, it's obsolete, because you're not preparing. You're not preparing the mind and the kind of the individual to go and take those jobs. Those jobs don't exist anymore. It's all robotics. So it's now being used in a different way. And it's been that system, because it was so successful, is now being used by the people at the top to just benefit them and not everybody else. It's really interesting, and it's now taking a system that everybody knows, and it's using it in a different way for modern times, but again, only for the advantage of the few. It's not to the advantage of the people who go to school and go to college and university anymore. For me, it just needs kind of reimagining. One of the big things that's happening at the moment, which is a concern for me, is like what schools do now for children and young adults. What role it performs, and as I say, it's not benefiting those individuals anymore. It's benefiting kind of the people who are at the top of the pyramid. And so one of the things that it does at the moment is indoctrination with specific narratives and stories. So when I went to school, when kind of, I would imagine a lot of Western cultures and things with schools, there's always a specific narrative that's taught. There's always a specific history that's taught, and the way that the history was. And a good example of that is Christopher Columbus. We're taught that he was kind of an interesting, great man who would travel, who kind of made a leap of faith to travel the world and to find a different way to go to the Indies, and kind of that he discovered the Americas, and so he's a great man, and he was a great explorer, and very noble and very brave and all of these things. When in reality, we know now that there was a different dynamic, and he was kind of, the thinking of the time was about going there, that when they arrived, it wasn't that there was other people living in the Americas. They were seeing that there was savages in the Americas that needed civilizing and needed bringing to God and bringing to Christianity, which is another way of controlling minds. so there's another story to it that we're just not told, and like I'm not going to say that one, even that story's the alternative story is the correct gospel story. But what we've got to understand is that these stories are being given over as gospel, as truth, and it's given in the way. It's the way that it's delivered. Is that here's the book. So we know that through human history, again, we've been conditioned through the millennia that books are an authority. So here's a book. Here's the Bible. Here's the Quran. Whatever kind of holy book. So the book is gospel. The book is authority. So that's shown to the students, whether it's primary school, secondary school. It's gospel. It's in a book. Look, how can there be any other story? Look, it's in a book. Look, it's in a book. Look, and it's delivered by a figurehead of authority, the teacher. So the teacher delivers the gospel from the book, and then so it's delivered in a way that it's seen as being this is the truth and there's no other story. So it's quite difficult to break free of that narrative when it's taught at an early age that if something's delivered via document and it's delivered by an authority or an authority figure, it's very difficult for children to break free of that mindset of being given information that's the truth, so that you don't need to find out for yourself. There's the information, that's it. And so I guess kind of a good example of, a good example there's like a personal example of mine for how things taught in school were kind of, they're created for an audience and created to make sure that everybody believes and understands, was the story of Drake, the Francis Drake, the what do you call them? Buccaneers? No, what do you call them? Profiteers? I don't know. So basically, he worked for the Queen of England, and he travelled to the Americas in his ships to plunder Spanish galleons, and so basically, in school we learned that he was this noble man, this great man who fought for the English crown, for the British crown, and he would go there and he would fight the Spanish because the Spanish were evil, and he would so like he was seen as kind of a figure for us. So in all the books we used to see like all of his beautiful paintings that were probably commissioned by the Queen at the time. I think it was Elizabeth. I can't remember which Queen. I don't know why. I think maybe it's Elizabeth, but at the time, so like he was a regal figure, and he was good for the country and everything else. So that's the story that we're told. So anyway, so I go and live obviously in Colombia for a period, and one of the things that I did one of the first times I was there, I went and visited the San Felipe Castle in Cartagena. Now Cartagena was the major kind of trading port in the Americas, because it is on the north coast of South America. So there was everything traded there, but the main things were gold, slaves. It was just a massive hub. Anyway, Sir Francis Drake, he was knighted, attacked Cartagena. And so you can listen to the story. When you go and visit the castle, you can listen to the storytellers, like kind of the guides, around the castle, and they'll tell you. Now, the way that they describe Sir Francis Drake, the great British buccaneer or whatever it is, was that he was a pirate. So they describe him as the famous pirate Francis Drake. And so, like, that kind of blew my mind a little bit at the time, that the two narratives from the two different sides, whether that had originally come from the Spanish side in Colombia, or that in Colombia that's just their narrative. But that's what's being taught to people and taught to children. And our narrative was that he was a great man. So that just shows that there's different stories. And so by feeding the stories to children, we're not giving them the opportunity to form kind of their own opinion. We're just saying this is what it was. This is what life was back then. Or this is how life is now. So think about that when you see things on the news, and when you see stories that are being pushed through social media and things like that. Are we still being told? We are. It's kind of like I'm just asking the question, but we are. We're being pushed stories through the media at the moment, and we're, because of our indoctrination at a young age when we're at school, we believe it because some people believe it because it's a story. And stories are there, and narratives are there to make us believe something. Now, there's kind of another side to it. For anybody who's read the book *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, incredible book, brilliant book, and it explains how we've developed to where we are today in modern, not prehistory, kind of in history, how humans have developed. And one of the things that he says, and it's very, very true, is one of the reasons that we were able to live in huge groups and not kill each other was because stories were and narratives were important to create bonds. So a joint story, a mutual story that we believe in, creates a bond between me and strangers. And that's kind of what it's being used for. But again, as with a lot of things these days, there's two ways that things are used, and there's one part of it that's good, and then there's other parts that aren't so good. So it's separating those things. But just because it creates a bond doesn't mean that it can't be questioned. Like, you should be able to be given the opportunity to go and find out for yourself. That's why I like when I see things online, I always check for myself. I'll go and find out what the alternative stories about that incident are. But I do like people who kind of say, right, this is my statement, this is what I believe, this is what I know to be true. Go and research it for yourself. If you don't believe me, go and find it for yourself. Go and look at it for yourself. And now there's a lot of people doing that now, and I really appreciate that, because that's kind of saying, like, okay, don't take my word for it. Go and check it out. And so, just taking it back to the school again. So in school, you're taught to just accept that an authority figure's telling me, and I shouldn't question it. And a cracking example. I mean, we're living through an example of that at the moment. Whichever side of the kind of end of the spectrum that you are in your belief about it, but it's all the COVID-19 crisis. We're told this is what it is, and don't you dare question the experts. They're telling you what the reality is. They're telling They're telling you that this is a horrendous virus, and it's terrible. It's horrible. Oh no! So they're telling you that you can't question it. Now, there's a lot of people now who are kind of looking into it and saying, you know what? I don't know anybody who's had it, or I don't know anybody really who's died from it. So let's look at the statistics, and they look at the statistics, and then they realise actually, but the statistics are kind of being fudged, or statistics were taken from last week's figures or the week before, and the waters are being muddied, and it's all been confused on purpose. And so people are saying, people are questioning now and saying, well, it doesn't fit what you're telling me necessarily. The official line doesn't fit with what I'm seeing myself and with what I'm experiencing. So for me that's good evidence that narratives are used, and also that now kind of the people at the top, the people who are in authority, who are in power, don't realise that that the majority of people now are waking up and saying, whoa, like, we've been fed stories all our life. Like, this is incredible. Like, I've just realised that that's not real. That stories may be real, but that I can go and check, and I can pull up tons of sources, and I can cross-reference everything and say, well, that one and that one's conflicting, but there's lots more of this over here. This story, there's lots more of that. So I'm more inclined to kind of see that may be the truth. But it's it's that's why I'm saying it's coming to the. I believe it's way past its shelf life. The current education system, just simply because it doesn't work to just push narratives doesn't work anymore in the outside world, because people are more savvy now. They can find out what the reality is. And then that system, that kind of industrial revolution system, also it teaches compliance over self-governance, self-management, responsibility. So the idea is you must comply. You must comply with the timetable. You must comply with when we tell you can eat. You must comply with belief of the stories that we give you. So it's compliance, instead of saying to a student, okay, so like you figure it out, go and figure out the solutions to the problems. That should be the reality. That would be the most amazing education experience, is saying go and figure it out, like timetables, go and have your dinner, go and have a bit longer dinner if that's what you want to do, but like you've still got to factor in the learning part of it. So you having a longer dinner may mean that you're at, I don't know, you're learning for more longer in that day. And I mean, even down to like having to ask to go to the toilet, like that's bizarre. Like it's a natural process. Like you need to go to the toilet, go to the toilet, like self-govern yourself. Like learn for yourself, be responsible for what you do. So, I mean, take longer breaks. People need more time. We just need to relax and have that time, that contemplation time. I mean, again, this is just thinking again about Duncan Trussell, but like one of the things that he was mentioning, and he's got it spot on, is like in our work life, we sell our time. That's what we're doing. So we go and work for 8 hours and we say this is what our time is worth. £8 an hour, whatever. There's your... Right, I'm selling my time and I'm going to go and do it. And then, so what you end up with is you end up with people who don't necessarily want to do the work in the time that they're selling. They're just selling their time. So it's not about actually doing what they enjoy and what they're passionate about. It's just selling their time. So then you get them doing other things and trying to waste time and looking at the clock and thinking, oh, like when am I finishing? When's my lunch break? So instead of putting all their energy and they're really throwing themselves into whatever they're doing, there's none of that. It's they're not interested in what they're doing, and it's a shame. That's not how life should be. That's not how life should be for productivity, for society. So productivity of products and whatever's being produced or the service, but also the kind of the productivity. It's not right for the person's mind and just like having 15 minutes break or half an hour for your lunch and having to rush and having to force kind of a sandwich down your neck, a baguette or whatever, and then like a can of sugary drink, and then having to straight back to work. I mean, your mind doesn't have time to just relax and rest and just bring it down a level. We need more time. We need more time. Adults need more time. So if we need more time, children need to learn to have more time. And so again, Duncan Trussell says that it is about time. It's about making sure that, like, the system that's created, and then so this goes back to the school. The system that's created is to stop people having that time to think, and that's ironically why lockdowns have actually had the opposite effect to what was imagined, in my opinion, is that people suddenly had time when they were furloughed and everything else. Suddenly they had time to do research, time to contemplate, time to talk with other people, and that's not what you want. When you've got slaves or drones or members of a herd, and you want to keep them in control, you want to keep them busy, you want to make sure that they don't have time to think, and you want to make sure that they don't have time to communicate with each other. or ways to communicate with each other, and that's essentially what we're living in now. We have to work more and more and more to be able to pay for pay the tax, pay for whatever mortgages and rent and everything else. We've got to just keep working and working and working. There's no time, and then when you're at work, there's no time to communicate or talk. This is a massive problem. And the way to move out of that is to start from education, start from the bottom. I mean, I'm theorising, but like I haven't got the answer of how that's implemented. I'd like to see a different education method, possibly implemented, some kind of maybe a community started somewhere, and educating in that way, maybe, and see if that could kind of grow outwards. So you seed it, and then maybe that moves, and more people see how good it is, and how beneficial it is to the group, and that sort of thing. But anyway, so my like reimagining. This is, I'm going to kind of give my my opinions of how education could be reimagined. And of course, kids need to have boundaries. They do. They really do. And I get that. So it does. That is necessary, but it's the way that you do it. You've got to make sure that children understand what the boundaries are, and but also have some control over those boundaries. I mean, obviously, there's certain things that are red lines, but there's a lot of boundaries that I think children could be more flexible for children. For example, timetables, when you arrive at school, when you leave school, that sort of thing. Currently, I mean, there's a lot of scientific evidence, and there's a lot of experiments that show that different people and different children learn at different times of the day better. Optimal learning is at different times of the day. So, for example, me, I can work and learn, and I'm more productive late at night. Kind of, I don't know why. I have no idea why. I've always been that way, and I've always felt that I'm more energetic late at night. And there's other people that are really energetic early in the morning, and can really focus in early in the morning. So why are we saying, okay, well, but we're going to standardise it all for all children? I honestly think that, and for the people who say, yeah, but you've got to because it's society. I'm like, yeah, but that's society as we live in now. You've got to think away from that. You've got to think outside of that box. That's the way that things have been designed currently, to ensure that the children in education are able to move into that box and that rigidity. But being flexible and being more self-malleable is ultimately what will lead to more advancements, when people are more passionate, and people... So instead of having an elite at the top who kind of are a small group who own everything, not just financially but intellectually, because they've had the advantage of an excellent education, of extra time, of all of these things that kind of the rest of us, so not them but us, the rest of us don't benefit from. It would be nice if everybody, and we easily could do it in the modern world through technology, everybody had that opportunity to follow their dreams and their passions, and really dial into what they're good at and what their soul wants. And I believe that it should, in an ideal world, it should start from the parents. And so the parents would be nurturing the child through the education process, through school, being involved all the time, but then being able to identify. So the parents are taught how to identify in their kids what their kid is good at, what their abilities are, but also what they're hyper passionate about, what they really love. So some kids are really, really love to the core. They love sports. There are other kids who really love to the core. They love art. There are other kids who are crazy about technology, about mechanics, about robotics, about building. These are the skills that need to be dialed into, and allow the children to to flourish and to grow in that area. Because of course, if they're doing it with passion, they're going to take it to the top, aren't they? Entertainment, if they want to be an entertainer. The thing is, not everybody wants to be the same. Trust me, there's so many other things that you could be. Like when I was young, my passions. So everybody has different passions. My passions were football. I love football, and that was what I wanted to do for a period of my kind of young adult life. But then I used to love nature and archaeology and the Aztecs. I studied Aztecs. I must have been very, very young. I've got memories of me being in the library and taking books out of the library about the Aztecs, and I think I must have only been between 8 and 10, maybe. And I remember taking the books and I was fascinated. And Egypt, and I'd look at Egypt. So the human history, I used to love it. And then nature, I was obsessed with nature. I would always be in the local nature reserve, picking up frogs and toads and newts out of ponds and frog spawn and looking at birds, and it was fascinating to me. So I know that people have got different passions. Kids can run with it if you give them the opportunity. They can really, really run with it, and that's the way it should be. So that when they get to adulthood, then suddenly they're like, okay. Like, this is where I wanted to be. This is what I wanted to do. And I'm still here, and I'm still happy, and I'm still passionate. Not only that, but I'm passionate now about technology. Somebody who loved computers. Now, that person might change the future of technology and AI because they're absolutely they're crazy about it. They love it. So, again, you don't only get a select few people who were privileged enough to go to the best universities and end up in Silicon Valley. You get people from all areas, challenging each other, figuring stuff out, opening doors to new technologies, and instead of us being kind of controlled and stunted by just a set number of people doing it. Of course, the problem with parents having that responsibility at the moment is that parents very, very often these days don't have the time to spend, and it's really sad because they're in that rat race, so they don't have the time to sit down and spend with the kids. I mean, how sad is that? It's so. I mean, the people who can, like, it's real. Like, you're lucky. The people who can spend all their time with their kids and dedicate themselves to raising their kids and finding out what they really love, and then making sure that they're able to follow that. It's sad. So that needs to be assessed and sorted out, where people need more time to be able to look after their children and to not be penalised. So like a single mother or a mother who wants to stay at home and raise a child shouldn't be penalised. There should be things that can happen to support that. This is the future. I mean, it seems to me a little bit at the moment that whatever it is, whether it's COVID, whether it's climate change, whether it's all of these like social injustices, things like that, even with those, and a lot of it I don't agree with. Like, I don't agree with the way that it's portrayed, and again the narrative that's dictated. But even with those things, like if you have a population that is hyper intelligent, hyper passionate, that have grown up through what they like, what they love, you've then got really informed adults, really curious adults, really diligent adults who will go and find all the information and figure out solutions of how to fix that issue, and challenging each other in it as well. But at the moment, it's just kind of like, well, here's the storybook, and this is what we need to follow, and then it's putting out fires when people do say, well, no, that's not right. That's not the only way to do this. They're put down. No, shh. Stay down. This is it. This is the Bible. This is what you need to know about that. We're experts. That's all you need to know. So it's like, it's ridiculous. It's for me, that we're not nurturing that through the population so that it comes out. The next one's flexibility. How flexible the school day would be. So it may be the case, as I've said before, that at the moment it's 9 to 3:30, whatever. So that's preparing people for a 9 to 5. How about we say, okay, so be more vocational, more passionate about your interests. So having things that are set up for people to optimize their learning. So in the morning, it may be that they want to do physical activity and get healthy, because that's the time that they're able to do that. But in the afternoon, in the evening, that's when they want to learn. So have that availability of learning. And if that means doing everything online and kind of setting things up online, then do that. Like, why can't we set up classes for children online and then have a practical side to the class that's done in their time at home, again with the parents giving a lead maybe, or even somebody else giving the lead, but the idea being that it's flexible and it stops children feeling forced to do something that they either don't want to or don't feel comfortable with, instead of just saying get in line drone, or get in line kind of sheep or whatever. It's it would be a much more productive way of scheduling education. I mean, let the children choose what they want to do. Like, literally let them choose what they want to do. Have it all available. So thinking about it now, you couldn't have that in a traditional school. There's only so many subjects that you can lay out, isn't there? So it would have to be a lot of online based, but let them choose what they want to do. So let them choose. If they want to go and play football, let them choose that they're going to go and play football. If they want to do art, let them choose that they want to do art now. Let them choose that they want to go and study insects. Let them choose that they want to go and study reptiles. Let them choose that they want to study history. And let them choose. So, the things that they enjoy doing. I mean, think back to when you were at school, and you would have your classes that you would enjoy, and then you'd have your classes that you would dread, that you hated. And you'd be like, oh, why? Why have I got to go? Why have I got this lesson now? Oh, I've got 3 hours of maths, or I've got 3 hours of English or French or German or whatever it was. And so during that period of time, it's wasted time, really. You're sitting down and you don't enjoy it. But if that time was, okay, you've just finished physical education, you love doing football, great, I've finished that now and we've finished our game and right then, now I'm going to go over to the art classroom and we're going to do sculpting. And because they're going to sculpt, they're doing sculpting dinosaurs today, or they're doing sculpting the human body, or what. And I really I fancy doing that. That's really cool. Or I'm going to go over to this other to mechanics or robotics, and we're going to, because I'm building a project over there where I think I can figure out how to harness sunlight through a solar panel and make it super efficient and whatever it is. But let them choose what they want to do from an early age. And it should be, in my opinion, interest-based learning. So it's what they're interested in. They continue to push and learn. They don't need to learn things they're not interested in or they're never going to use. Challenge-based. So the idea being that the way that people best learn is when they figure out solutions to problems. So you during the class, they learn and you give them demonstrations and everything else. But then you say, okay, this is the challenge. Go and figure out how to do this. Like, for example, construction. So it is used a little bit today where you have to build a bridge. So you've got these materials and you have to build a bridge. But then you're figuring out all of the physics behind it and how the bridge needs to be the weight needs to be evenly distributed and things like that. So they do that now. It's just not done enough. That's how all learning should be. It should all be experience based, because that's how your brain makes connections. The neurons connect based on your experiences. When you touch a hot cup of coffee and Okay, so your brain's just made a connection. Next time, I need to not touch the cup until I know whether it's hot or not, and that's how we learn, and that's how best. I'm saying this because that's how best I learn. And I remember being at school, kind of through primary school. I was at the top of every class and loved school, and I'd go and I'd kill it every day, and a lot of it was because primary school is more experience based, and you do a lot more art and you do a lot more things that you really enjoy. But then when you get to secondary school and college, university, it becomes more paper based and dictatorial, and like I just didn't enjoy that learning experience. That when something was put on the blackboard or the projector or whatever, and I was given a copy of it, or I was given a book, and so for me to just read through those words, it was just the words would just like I might remember it for the rest of that class, but then it goes in one ear out the other, and it's just not, because it's not stimulating. There's nothing in my body. I've had no endorphins released. I've had no adrenaline. I've had no like wow moment, no eureka moment where I figured something out. Like there wasn't very much of that. And I'd say that a lot of people are the same. Like you need those challenges. So no matter what it is, like for example, for biology, like learn about the life cycle of a frog and the metamorphosis that goes on. So the challenge being, okay, so right, I want like. Here's a frog. Here's some frog spawn. Here's a tadpole. But we need to figure out how the hell does that little fish-looking thing become this frog? So, right, you've got I don't know. You've got 4 weeks. I don't know what the life cycle of a frog is, but you've got 4 weeks to go and like figure it out, and then come back and tell us how that happened. How did that work? And then the child then excited. You first need to go and find a frog, so it's exploration. It's triggering that the hunting instincts that we have, and they'll go and find the frog, and then they've got to the frog spawn was in the water, so I need to go to a pond and maybe find, or a river, and we're gonna look, and oh no, it's the pond. So that so the frog spawn's in the pond. That's the egg. Oh, it's an egg. Okay, it's an egg. So they lay eggs, right? So, okay, so I'm going to take the frog spawn, I'm going to study it, so they hatch the tadpole. Okay, so I can look at the tadpole now. We need to feed the tadpoles, and then as the tadpole grows, it grows legs. It's growing 2 legs. What are they? They're legs. And so, like the child, like that's really, I remember kind of learning some of those things myself, so I'm just using that example, but that's really powerful learning. It's really powerful learning. It's something that they will never, ever, ever forget. So it's got to be something that is as practical as possible, that children really enjoy doing, and that will challenge them to find out the solutions. Because, like, ultimately, as a species, that's what we've always been: is a solution finder, a solution resolver, a problem resolver. That's what we are. But we don't do that anymore. We're told what the truth is, and what to believe, and what works and what doesn't work. What's achievable, what's not achievable, what's possible, what's impossible. And so we need to go back to being able to say what is possible and what's not possible. At a young age, we need to have more philosophers, more thinkers, more people who can figure things out. Because we've regressed. In my opinion, we've regressed to a society that is now not about any of those things. It's more about maintaining a status quo, maybe even adding more oppression to the recipe, and kind of, okay, so all of that kind of middle class wealth, well, we at the top, we need to take that away and push those middle class back down further. That's what it seems to me, and it's not the right way for humanity to go. Humanity should now be excelling in cars that run on water, in alternative forms of energy that are super efficient and much better than carbon based. That's what it should be now, and it's not. And that one of the reasons is that people are told that they can't figure these things out from an early age. instead of saying, actually, you can, actually, we'll have a class of however many, 10, 20, 30, and all of you, like, try and figure out an alternative fuel source to make something run, an alternative battery, whatever it is. But having those numbers and giving the ability for children to figure things out for themselves is just, that's what life should be. So it can be a different. It doesn't need to be as rigid as maths, science, counting, kind of like all of the traditional history. It doesn't need to be like that. There can be other things from an early age. So a child might like cars or might like fixing things, so become a mechanic. Somebody might like electronics. Somebody might like, so we teach them safe electronics from an early age. Building, one child might have a proficiency for building incredible things with blocks. So nurture that, push them that way. Tech and IT, there might be children who love tech and IT and coding and that sort of thing. Sports, and I've said this before, entertainment, whatever. Languages, maybe there are children who really enjoy talking to other people in different languages and communicating. And I mean, it's very difficult for this isn't for children, but it's very difficult for people to become philosophers anymore. Normal people to think about life and philosophize. It's really difficult because there's no time. People don't have time. It's really strange. I mean, like teach the children to go and find out the answers for themselves, but to look at different sources. Like, don't feed them that narrative. Find different sources and form an opinion. So look on the internet, look in books, and then use all of those things, come together to form an opinion. What do you think? Maybe the answer's not clear cut, but so your opinion is the answer's not clear cut. Again, COVID, is the answer clear cut? We've been told it is. We've been told that the vaccine's going to save everybody from something that's only deadly to the age group or to the people in our society who are already vulnerable in the same percentage to things like the common flu. So that's kind of. So is it clear? No, it's not clear. So tell the children. So go and figure it out. To come back and tell us what you think. What do you think? What do you think? And also teach them to look at alternative opinions. So they may have an opinion or a point of view on something, but teach them to go and look at alternative points of view. Again, this is another thing that's going on now, where it's about cancelling out alternative points of view and saying, like, shut up, you don't exist. If you have that opinion, you don't exist. Shush, you're not part of this club. Nobody's listening. Instead of saying, okay, tell me what your point of view is, and we'll, like, I want to hear your opinion. I might think it's rubbish, but I'll listen to it, and it may change my point of view. I mean, for an example, like, so I look at life at the moment and I say that maybe we're living in cities which aren't conducive to the human experience or the human condition, which is why we see so much mental health damage and things like that. We're not supposed to live in these huge groups. We're supposed to live in more intimate, smaller social groups, which again I think could be done within the context of a city. So you could reduce it down and make it a bit more natural. But my point is, so for example, I like the people who say that the planet's like overpopulation now is starting to become a problem. So my opinion is that maybe I don't think it is. I think there's other issues happening that are causing our problems that we could fix in another way. That actually overpopulation isn't an issue. It's just the way that we're distributing, the way that we're managing resources and culture and society and educating our children. So I think like that sort of thing. But recently I've considered overpopulation. So like I've seen a few different pieces of information, and I've thought, okay, so like, what if our overpopulation is becoming a problem? And so I'm considering an alternative point of view. It's so important, and people have stopped doing that today. So we need to teach our children to do that, to consider other points of view. Children need more social time. They need more time to mix with other children of their age, other young adults of their age. They need that time and be taught how to interact and how to communicate and share ideas and resolve issues. Taking their time away from them isn't going to fix anything. It's preparing them for a life of no time in the future. I think we all need more time for contemplation, and children do. So giving them a period of time where we say, okay, this is leave them with some books and with some videos and with some about a specific subject, and let them go and put the TV on and put the DVD on, or put the whatever the documentary is about that subject. Put that on, and then go and read and and you just say to them, okay, this is your time. This is your time. But use the time to think about this subject and to contemplate it. Like, if you want to go and sit down and just think about it, then go and think about it. If you want to just talk about it, ask me about it, go and talk to your friends about it, go and do that. Watch the video, look on the internet, and give them contemplation time. Stop. Our minds are too busy with information that's not relevant. Our minds are getting clogged up. But so allowing kids to have the social time, the more the freer education experience of being able to interact and move around and find out for themselves. Like, it's done to a certain degree in primary school now. It's just that it's done in chains. It's done rigidly. But then when you get up to high school, secondary school, that goes away. Your classes are very defined. Like, you're in, you sit down, you look at the board, you listen to the dictator, you read your Bible, and that's it. It's young adults should be flourishing and just going for it and living life to the absolute full. And that's what we need to, in my opinion, that's how we need to gear the general education. I'm not talking about the top kind of pay your way education for the top people. I'm talking about for the general population, for the people in poorer areas. Like, give them things that they can relate to, and give them things that they can be interested in and enjoy. Teach the parents how to nurture as well. Like, there's a lot of parents who've lost their way, unfortunately, and so, like, the children going to school is either a relief for them or it's a feeling of it's the school's responsibility to teach. It's not. Like, we need to get back to knowing that it's the parents' responsibility to teach. So, I mean, that's my idea of why I think that the education system's failing our children, the way it's set up, and how I think it could be done differently. I mean, if it was up to me, if I was in my education system, what I would have been doing kind of through my learning process would have been traveling the world and exploring new places. That would have been I would have loved that. Going and exploring kind of relics of ancient civilizations, and studying animals in faraway places, and studying nature, studying the water table, studying the water cycle in different places, and studying climate in different places, studying geology, studying like all of that natural stuff is like, it's something I really, really love. So, like, that's what I would have been doing if I would have been given the options at that early age. That's what I would have kind of moved into. But as I say, because my learning, and I would say the majority of people, but my learning style is very much experience and interest based. If I'm not interested, I find it extremely hard to focus. And why should I? Like, people say, oh well, we need to teach children to focus. Why? If they're not interested, why do they need to focus on something they're not interested in? Like as a person, it doesn't make sense. Why do you want to force someone to do something that they're not interested in or they don't want to do? With intent, with focus, it's a bizarre way to look at the world, in my opinion. So even like now, you're as an adult, like my advice to you is kind of readjust the way that you think about the world and you're learning. Like, start trying to not just listen to the narrative that's fed to you and question it. Start questioning the narratives and say, okay, oh, that sounds shocking. As an example, Extinction Rebellion. It sounds shocking that we're going to be extinct in 4 years' time. The human race is going to be extinct in 4 years' time. Are you sure? That just doesn't seem logical to me. So if that's what you're hearing but you're shocked, but oh my God, we're going to be extinct. We need to do something. But go and look. Go and do the research. Look at different papers. There might be one that says that's the accelerating pollution in the world or whatever is going to maybe a danger to us. So go and read that. But then read another one where there's an alternative point of view where it's actually it's a natural cycle that the Earth goes through constantly, and that our impact on that is negligible. But go and look at it, and start questioning the narrative. Start questioning the authority figures, like who's telling you this. Your teacher is now whoever is on the television or on social media who are doing press conferences and telling you about things. Like, start questioning them. Because their motives for telling you a story and a narrative is not always for your good. In fact, I'd say it's probably not very often for your good. So start questioning that and just open your mind up a little bit. All I'm saying is just, like, instead of allowing people to tell you what you should think, like, just start thinking for yourself and start figuring out what's true, what's not true, what's the things that you're interested in. Start learning again. Stop being that drone. Stop being the tiger that's being herded. That ferocious tiger that's deadly, that's one of the top predators on the planet, and it's being herded across the plains and doesn't realise how dangerous it is. You need to wake up and realise your potential. That's the bottom line. So yeah, thank you very much. As always, thank you for coming and joining me. We're only going to get better as a species and as a society, and when we start to look at ourselves as a community and look at ourselves as thinkers and problem solvers and figuring out ways to fix things, that's the only way we're going to move forward as a society. There's that, or the alternative is just we carry on the way we're going, where we become kind of more and more divided as individuals, where we don't trust each other, and we become more and more enslaved. There's not many other kind of ways to describe it. I'd like to describe it, I don't know, as a hive, maybe. More inducted into the hive, and that's not how I want to live. That's not what humans for. We're here to be incredible and to just be almost magical in the things that we can achieve now. But it's not just a small group of people. Everybody's got that ability to live like that. So, and it starts by moulding the education of young individuals of our species. So thank you. As always, let me know what you think. Do you think that our education system is fit for purpose? Do you think that, okay, it's fine? Do you think that our system then is as good as it can be? Is this it? Is this living inside a box and kind of being chained to a system of tax and non-innovation? Is that just life now? Is that the way we've got to live? Have a think about it and let me know in the comments. Right, have a great weekend or week or whenever you're watching this video. Be amazing. Realise your potential. Don't let any opportunities pass you up in life. Go and speak to that person that you like. Go and apply for that job. Just go and live your life. Go and enjoy. Don't let people tell you that you can't go and see your family and friends and give them a hug or a kiss or talk to them or whatever. Don't listen to any of that. Go and have a great day, great night, whatever. And I'll see you again. Come and grab a drink and we'll talk next time on Drinks with Chris. Thank you very much. God bless.